Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at another Q&A session during AfryKamera Film Festival. At this time, we have with us the director of the film Softie, Sam Soko. Hello, Sam.
Hi there.
And we have the protagonist of this film. We have wonderful Boniface Mwangi and his wonderful wife, Njeri Mwangi. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, hi.
Sam, I would like to start with you because I have to ask you, when did this journey with Njeri and with Boniface begin for you? How did you meet? When did you decide that you're gonna make a film about them?
So thanks again for inviting us, and thanks for showing the film at the festival. I think when we started, we never thought our film would be shown in Poland. So hey, it's a really good thing for us. So the journey started 7 years ago in 2013. Boniface is, I think, one of the most flamboyant Kenyan activists, and at the time, he was putting up this, crazy protest, and we just wanted to capture some of those protests for just, to put make short videos and put them on YouTube. But then over time, it kind of developed into this portrait of his life. And over the same time, we got to meet his family, we got to meet Njeri, we got to meet their 3 beautiful kids. And we got to see that there is so much more beyond what you see at a protest. There's so much sacrifice, there's so much involvement that goes into the lives of activists or people who are active citizens in our society.
But Sam, did you know from the very beginning that actually working with Boniface, that working with Boniface for you, it's gonna be like this, that it's gonna be super dangerous, that it's gonna be working on adrenaline all the time, that it's gonna have a lot of very dangerous moments? Were you aware of what are you risking by taking this subject for a film?
This is as calm as Boniface you can get. So I think from the first time, the first time we met, he was actually organizing a protest, and he was like, "Hey, you guys can actually just come." And I was like, "I know, we've just met, we can't just go to a protest." But there was an inference that it was going to be that way, but I don't think I was ready at that time. I wouldn't lie that I was. But over the period, you kind of come to understand the importance of what we are capturing and the importance of why it's important for people to see what goes on, and that he does get afraid, but at the end of it all, the drive that is there is what we need to have fellow citizens to see, so that it encourages them to stand up and speak up when everything around us looks like it's crumbling.
And Boniface, how did you react for that idea that you're gonna be a protagonist of a film? You are an artist yourself, you are a photographer yourself, so how did it look like?
So when we began, it wasn't going to be a film. So there was no thinking at a given time. It wasn't like a decision that I had to make at that particular moment. It came to be as time went by and the recording went by, and he realized there's enough material to actually make a film and make the story just larger than a protest. So it wasn't initially along the way. What we needed to do when we began this journey was to do an activism manual. How do you organize? How do you mobilize? What do you think about planning a protest? But as we planned and as we spoke about what to do to make a protest successful, he was able to meet my family and see that there was a bigger story than just me and the protests.
That's right. But did you anyhow try to direct Sam? Did you anyhow try to be responsible for this film, because I am an artist myself, so I want to have my impact on it?
So interesting enough, the first time I watched the film was about 11 months ago in December before it went to Sundance. I never watched the film. I never got involved. I never directed. The only thing I told him to change in the film was a typo of my son's name. That's the only thing I told him to change. There's a typo on my son's name. I said, please correct that.
So you want to change Kenya, but you don't want to change the film. That's nice.
I like that.
And Njeri, I have to ask you about this project, because for you, like, we can see from the film that actually for you last few years was like really, really going into the public. Like people around you, like people, society, they were interested in Boniface and your marriage. They were interested in your family. And then Sam arrives and he's like even more interested in you and your family. And he's getting more and more intimacy with you. And he's like all the time around you. How did you feel with that double people who actually want to get closer to you and your family?
My husband is very, very famous in this country. We have led some of the most provocative, some of the most radical protests in this country has ever seen. So Sam had been around recording all this and documenting the process of how we planned for this protest. And yes, I was present, but he was documenting what was happening. It wasn't about me, it wasn't about the kids, it was about the organizing of everything that we were doing. So when the cameras, we'd gotten used to seeing him around. And I think like Boniface says, there was no, well, for me, there was a decision, because Sam told me that the way this story is going, he wants to tell more of the sacrifices and the pain that Boniface, as an activist and like people know him, have to bear, and also his family has to bear. And I really struggled with that. To be honest, I really struggled with that because I'm a very private person. And what he was asking me is to take off my veil.
The internet is hanging.
Looks like there's a problem with the internet.
Okay, hopefully Njeri is gonna return to us. But yeah.
And can you hear?
Njeri, we lost you.
We lost you.
On taking off the veil, you froze on the veil.
I took off my veil.
Yes.
And so why I accepted for this to be done was because I felt like it was not just my story, it was the story of a lot of the spouses and the families of people in the front line that is never seen, that is never told. And people never appreciate what the people they see have had to sacrifice, what people who love them and live with them, the pains that they have to go through and what they miss out on. So for me, the thought of making those people visible, making that struggle very real to everybody, I said, okay, fine. If that helps people see what we who are not seen go through, then let this film be done. Yeah.
Okay. And Sam, could you tell us a little bit about what do you think is actually the role of contemporary artists in Kenya? Because like the bond that you have with Boniface, the fact that he is an activist and a photographer, you are a director, it means that actually you both use art to change the world around you. Do you think that artists right now, they have the special role in forming the contemporary Kenyan society?
I think now more than ever, there's no point in history where art has become more important, particularly because we are at the cusp of redefining our narratives and telling our own stories to the world. For the longest time, we've had our stories being told by outsiders, other people coming to say what we feel or what we think. And at this moment, people like Boniface, who's like a fantastic photojournalist, and he takes incredible photographs. Those photographs and the stories that he captures are our stories. Like, he understands our context. He speaks to that. And as a filmmaker, we're trying to do the same thing. And a film like Softie is a film told by us, and it's our reflection on our own experiences and our journey as a country. So us using this medium of film or photography or people who write books is essentially important right now, that we are able to take these things to the world. Like the world is able to see us and is able to experience us and understand that we have a lot more to share, and there's a lot more for the world to learn from us. And we are capable of solving our problems. That's something we can do. But for us to do that, we need to be able to speak to that and allow us to engage to not only our own population, but the world as well.
But do you see that actually, do you both guys think that actually this is the problem of the contemporary Kenyan people, that actually, because for so many years they were ruled by people like that? In your film, there is this beautiful quote that you ask the people, you Boniface ask the people, why do you want to vote for the people who took your money from you? Why do you want to vote for the people who stole money from you? So do you think that actually this is like the mentally condition, that because it was for so many years, people do not believe that it can be changed? Do you think that this is like the biggest challenge to change that mental state?
That's a question. No, go
ahead. No, I can start, but I think Boniface can speak to it a bit more. We are the sum total of many things. We are the sum total of colonialism. We are the sum total of bad leadership from independence. We are the sum total of present bad leadership. We are also the sum total of our own decisions as citizens. But again, we are also influenced by everything that's happening in the world, and kind of neo-colonialist thinking of people like Cambridge Analytica. So we are a collective of those decisions, but for us, what is more important is changing the hearts and minds of those around us, so that we actually are able to make better decisions to move forward. You don't have anything to add?
No, I think one of the things that I've been thinking about, we can't call ourselves victims continuously, because we're not victims. We choose the leaders we have. We choose to live the way we live. So, well, it's true we have very bad leaders. They also have very, very bad voters. And I think it takes two to tango. So our leaders are a reflection of us. And I think the other thing we have learned to respect, which you shouldn't be respecting, is money and power. So which means people who have money and power can get out with very bad things. And you have allowed that to become normal. So people who don't have money and don't have power, they work so hard and step on everyone's head and kill and rape and steal to get to the top. Because once they're powerful, they become untouchable. When I watch Softie, that is very clear that we are not victims. We are people who choose to elect these people, because even when they have political rallies during the end of COVID, like now there's a surge in this country, and there's a ban on public gatherings, but the same politicians banning public gatherings are still gathering. And the people who know that if they go to a public meeting, they're going to get COVID, are still going. So we even if we can still be victims in a way, we enable our oppressors and enable the people who oppress us to do what they do. Because by showing up for wherever they are, we show that we're together.
Gotcha. And Boniface, do you see that actually what you do encourage young Kenyan people to follow your steps? Do you see that there is the impact to wake up the young people and to fight for change themselves?
Actually, I don't want to encourage Kenyans. I want to encourage everyone, including you, to become an active citizen, because a better world is possible if we speak up. A better world is possible if we organize. A better world is possible if people do acts of courage. Alice Walker said that activism is the rent you pay to be in this world. And every single person in this world should be an active citizen, because if you don't, then you end up having very nationalistic leaders who do very bad things. And Poland knows that history very well. So our silence enables oppressors, and that is the reason why every single person should be an active citizen.
But Boniface, don't you consider yourself a little bit privileged in terms of being an activist when you have such a wonderful supporter as your wife is, when you have such a wonderful supporters as your family is actually? Because like your guys are in this absolutely together, what we can see in the film. So
I am a very lucky man. Let me say this. I am a very, very lucky person. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I've done. Without her, I wouldn't have that courage, because she has my back. So I don't have to worry about the kids. I don't have to worry about what the people would say, because when I go home, I go home to a place of love and warmth and happiness. So she's my source of joy. She's amazing. I love you, Njeri.
And Njeri,
but also, I think, can I say something to that?
Please, yeah,
I think the idea of an activist is very misconstrued, because and when you say that he comes from a place of privilege, it's the kind of activism when we think of activism, we think of big, bold, life-threatening sorts of things, but not necessarily. When Bonnie says that people need to be active citizens, it means that wherever you are, you should not allow things to happen that should not be. So it's in your place of work, it's in your community where you live, it's in the building that you live in, it's in where you go to your place of worship, it's where you pick your meal, whatever it is. It's just ensuring that things are the way they should be. And what that means is that you're putting your leaders to account, you're calling them out when they're not doing the right thing, and that you regard yourself with a sense of respect, that you will not accept disrespect. Yeah. And what that means is that if you disrespect me, I tell you you're disrespecting me. If you dump garbage outside where I drive and my children play, I call you out, I tell you can't do that. Yeah. So being an active citizen is just ensuring that things are the way they should be, and not allowing people to disrupt our lives because they come from a place of power and taking advantage of that. So in our country, it's land grabbing, it's impunity, driving on the wrong side of the road, it's putting money, public coffers money into their own pockets, so calling them out into things like that. And it doesn't have to be at a national level. Like I said, it starts from community, because who we are really at the core, and then it builds up to who we are as a nation.
But Njeri, do you think that actually Kenyan people, they are aware of the rights that they have? Do you think that actually they could use them and they would be awakened, or it's different?
We come from a place of ignorance. Ignorance is bliss, but ignorance is no excuse as well. So the politician knows this. A lot of politicians know the level of ignorance that Kenyans have, and that's what they have that's where they've placed themselves to take advantage of that ignorance. And because of that ignorance, then that means we don't know what our rights are. We can't push back. We are afraid. We've been put in a place of fear, and we've been clustered in our tribal cocoons, and we identify as, our tribes, which means that if a leader is not speaking my tribe, then maybe he doesn't have my best interest at heart. Even I don't seem to understand what my best interests are as a Kenyan, which is why I will not go looking for the right leader, because what does a right leader look like? Just my tribe. That's my everything. That he's my tribe is everything. It's not whether he's a man of integrity or a woman of integrity. It's not whether he's a person who cares about anything that I care about. If anything, he could be everything that I detest. But because he's my tribesman, we're good.
Gotcha. And one more thing, actually, I would like to ask you to speak about, could you tell us a little bit about how do you feel that women's rights are being represented in these days, Kenya?
So now women are really trying to rise up, and there's a lot of conversations within women and trying to champion for the rights of women and women empowerment. And we've had a lot of people saying, what about the boy child? We're like, we're not saying it's the woman over the man, we're just saying we need to lift the girl child. So a lot of advocacy cases, a lot of stories that are being addressed by women all over the country, from different parts of the spaces. Because we as mothers, we as wives, we as daughters and sisters, we exist within a very patriarchal space. And we are defined and we are told what to do and how to do it and how long to do it, if to do it. But we want women to be able, right now women are trying to say, we're not asking for permission to exist, yeah? And we're saying that this is what I want to do. I don't need permission to do that. I will do it anyway. We are being pushed by cultural beliefs that tell us where we need to be. And one of the exercises we did yesterday with a group of women that we had was we were trying to come up with something that is of economic empowerment. And what we realized at the very end is that we just flow right into where we have been put. You know, we'll say, we'll make very nice dishes, we're going to do very beautiful jewelry, we'll weave, but no one is pushing beyond that. And then we discovered and realized to ourselves that, oh my gosh, this is something that, this is how we have been told we need to be, that we're not even thinking outside of that. So that realization was beautiful. It was beautiful to see the women come to that realization where, oh my gosh, why can't we think outside of this? Is it that we're afraid, or is it that we have just been boxed in that sense? So there's very real awareness about that, and women are trying to raise other women beside them. And I can feel the vibrations, because it's national, somewhat national, but it's still very, very little compared to what needs to happen. You know, it's 1 in 1,000 women, 1 in hundreds of women, yeah, where we need to be coming down to 1 in 10 women. So we still have a lot of work to do in terms of raising that sense of empowerment and telling women that we can stand on our own, because we do hold this country together in one way or another, whether men accept it or not.
That is really good to hear that people are awaking. Thank you for sharing this. And Sam, Boniface, actually, at the end of our conversation, I would like to ask you about what is your next step? What is your plan? I read that you are working on a book, right?
Yes. I want to do a book on activism, actually, and also to do a book about, the book that I never wrote, and the manual that I never finished. So I still have to do that book. I owe myself to do that book. And hopefully, maybe, we never know, I might buy again in the coming elections. And hopefully this time I win.
So apparently we keep
but also that manual needs to be done. That manual needs to be done. I think we owe ourselves.
The world.
This is where we started, and it was a course that needed to be done. So we need to get it done. I'm also working on a book. I need to find time to do this book.
So I cannot wait until I get the chance to read it. Really, guys, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And thank you so much for this wonderful documentary, and that you find the time for this short conversation. And hopefully next year, maybe at AfryKamera, we're gonna meet each other face to face. Maybe you're gonna come to our country, double promote the book.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Nice weekend.